torque and transmission load data are looking good.
Great. Let's proceed to the rough road tests.
You got it.
What are you hanging around for? Let's go have some fun!
Lights. Camera. Action.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I am your host, Lou Mongello, and this is show number 331 for the week of July 28th, 2013. I'm here to help you have the best possible Disney vacation experience and bring you a little bit of Disney magic wherever you are with this podcast, my Disney in a Minute videos, blog, live broadcasts, special events, my Walt Disney World trivia books, CDs, and more. You can find it all over at WDWRadio.com. Quick reminder, don't forget, if you're coming out to the D23 Expo in Anaheim, California, August 9th through the 11th, visit our booth in the Collectors Forum. And if you can't make it, that's okay, because I'm going to bring the entire event to you live. Watch and chat with us during the expo at D23ExpoLive.com. We're going to step outside the Walt Disney World theme parks for a bit this week and look at some of our favorite ways to stay, play, relax, and enjoy one of my favorite and often overlooked aspects of the resort, Disney on the water. We're going to explore the best of the best ways to enjoy the water in Walt Disney World. On, in, and around the resort's many waterways, we'll look at some of the many ways to do everything from boating to fishing to even some of the best ways to enjoy fireworks from the water for a truly memorable Walt Disney World experience. I'll then have the answer to our last Walt Disney World trivia question of the week and pose a new challenge for your chance to win a Disney prize package. Then stay tuned, I'll have some announcements and more of your voicemails at the end of the show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. A little part of me cries inside when I see people who come to Walt Disney World and are so focused on their maps and Excel spreadsheets and their turn-by-turn plans and where they need to run to next inside the parks, because they not only miss so much of the story and the details and other experiences in the parks themselves, but I think to a certain degree they also forget about what's outside the four corners of the four theme parks. And I don't just mean the resorts and Downtown Disney and the water parks, because I think to a certain degree, so many people are focused on the pirates and the princess and the coasters and the shows, and yes, maybe the food, that they don't realize that there's a whole nother world of activities and experiences that exist inside the Walt Disney World. And in fact, I would argue, and could probably prove, that you could actually spend your whole vacation outside the parks and still have plenty to do and see. And I think one of the best ways to relax and stay and play is on or near the water. From beaches to boats to slides and waves, there's something for everybody in the family to enjoy around the water, however they want to enjoy it. And so this week, we're going to look at Disney on the water, sort of the best ways to enjoy the water in Walt Disney World. And joining me this week is a man who loves a slip and slide and crush and gusher as much as anybody else. He is the Disney Daddy from DisneyDaddy.blogspot.com, Chuck Lionberger.
Hello again. Great to be back.
It's good to have you back, Chuck. And, you know, this I think is a great idea, because I think when we think about water in Walt Disney World, we're like, well, we need to cross the Seven Seas Lagoon to get to the Magic Kingdom, or I need to sort of get on a boat to get across Crescent Lake. Personally, I love a lot of the different ways beyond that, like renting a boat, whatever, and hitting the waterways, right? I like sort of the open air, and I like the different vistas that you get to see. Look, one of my favorite ways and things about going to the Magic Kingdom is like driving to Walt Disney World. Getting there is half the fun, right? Getting on a boat from the Polynesian and crossing the Seven Seas Lagoon.
So many people, again, it's that same thing of I've got to get to the parks. I got to get to the parks. And how many times have we heard and said that the journey is half the fun. And in this particular case, we're talking about Disney on the Water. The journey is part of that fun. Just hopping on even something as simple as the ferry. There is an almost cinematic experience as you hop on that ferry and start making your way across the Seven Seas Lagoon to the Magic Kingdom. At first, you cannot see the entrance. And then there is this wonderful slow reveal that comes about as you're on the ferry and you see the Magic Kingdom in a great angle where you've got Cinderella Castle and the train station perfectly kind of just lined up slightly off center. Great photo op, but that right there is worth all of the effort of going on the ferry and just enjoying and preparing yourself to have a great time in the parks. So, the Seven Seas Lagoon itself is an attraction in many, many different ways that we're going to talk about.
And that's exactly my point. We think about like the monorail, right? The monorail, many of us consider an attraction. The ferry boats, the friendship boats, these transportation systems are attractions to me. That is one of the things I enjoy. Look, I think one of the ones that is not experienced by everybody is getting a boat to or from Fort Wilderness, right? Go to the Hoop-de-Doo or come from the Magic Kingdom and go to Fort Wilderness. It's beautiful, getting to see Bay Lake and getting to see the resorts from the water side as opposed, from looking out on the water from the resort. It's beautiful. It's freeing. It's open. I love the air. There's something about that that makes those transportation systems some of my favorite attractions.
Oh, it's extremely relaxing. Think about having a fun day at a park or whatever, but you're not coming back, and especially at night. People are trying to rush to get back to their resort or do whatever the next thing is. Slow down, stop. Grab one of these little, especially the launches. These are smaller boats and hold about a dozen people or so to go over to either Fort Wilderness or the Wilderness Lodge, or over to the Poly or to the Grand Floridian or Contemporary. Take some of these little launches and just enjoy seeing the sights around the Seven Seas Lagoon at night. These resorts are all lit up at night and they're beautiful, and to see them from the water is not only just breathtaking to see, but again, it's very relaxing. You just got a nice, simple, calm boat ride that you're taking from one place to another. In fact, a great way to just take a calm and relaxing way is almost to do a tour and go from the GF and then over to the Poly, and then kind of take the boat tours around the Seven Seas Lagoon and just enjoy and relax and take in the sights and the sounds and even the smells of the water down there. It's really enjoyable.
Listen, Pirates has the musty water smell. But look, the operative word there was simple, right? It's the simple enjoyment of the waterways. Because think about it, there's lagoons and rivers and beaches and lakes. You can enjoy them from the shore. You can enjoy them by sort of plying the waterways themselves, and that's why I think this segment's good. And we're going to sort of take it instead of from a geographical perspective, some of the different ways that you can enjoy the water, right? Whether it's from being on the shores or being on the waterways themselves. And then I want to ask you, when we're done, what your favorite body of water in Walt Disney World is, because I think there's different reasons to love some of the different ones. And what maybe is your favorite? But let's sort of talk about the idea of boats, right? We think of boats, we think of the ferries, we think of the transportation systems. But what people don't realize is there are a variety of boating options that we as guests can take advantage of and rent, whether they are people-powered or motorized or wind-powered or arm-powered or leg-powered, whatever it may be. And so there's a lot of different ways to enjoy the boats during the days and then sort of take guided boat tours other times as well. Let's talk about some of the ones, Chuck, that we can do ourselves. Some of sort of the people-powered boating things and things that we can sort of take out, because I think exploring the waterways is 90% of the fun.
Oh, sure, without a doubt, because you then have control. Where if you're on, say, the ferry or on the launches, you're just along for the ride. Whereas if you're able to get one of the canoes or the kayaks or the pedal boats from some of the various resorts, you're now in control. And where do you want to go? Well, it's up to you. You can navigate the waters, especially if you have that ability to go, especially around, think of Bay Lake, because Bay Lake itself is huge. And there's a lot that's around Bay Lake and gives you different viewpoints of some of the different resorts and different things to do and places to see that you don't normally or wouldn't normally get if you were just kind of in regular areas. When you have the chance to go out on the water and can control your own course, you can go and see some of the things of Walt Disney World and even some of the attractions gone by.
Right. And the other thing too, we should point out right from the outset is maybe people don't realize how many different bodies of water, how many different marinas there are. And again, not every option is available at every marina. But so you talk about sort of the Magic Kingdom area. There's the Grand Floridian, the Polynesian, the Contemporary, Wilderness Lodge, Fort Wilderness, all have marinas.
Yes.
Old Key West, Saratoga Springs, Riverside, and French Quarter, both of the Port Orleans resorts. Coronado, Caribbean Beach, the Yacht and Beach Club, the Boardwalk, and Downtown Disney. So depending on where you're staying, it doesn't matter, right? You can be a guest anywhere or come to property, even if you're not staying there, and take advantage of it because each place is going to afford you something different. And like you said, different vistas.
And there's also different, being out on the water is exploration. You get the chance to go and explore and see and do things. A great place to go that so many people, I think, forget about might even be the Sassagoula River between Downtown Disney and all the way up through Old Key West and then all the way up to the Port Orleans resorts. That's a whole journey that you can do, and you get wonderful viewpoints of some of the Disney golf courses. You see the tree houses. It's actually a really interesting journey that you get to do, and you can either do it on your own by renting a boat of some sort, or again taking the launch from Port Orleans all the way down to Downtown Disney.
So let's talk about the ones that we can rent on our own. And again, they vary by location. I'm going to start off with, I think one of the ones that people see most often and think about most often is something like a Boston Whaler, right? It's sort of a pontoon boat. There's the Sun Tracker pontoon boats. There's also Boston Whalers. They hold anywhere from about 6 to 10 guests. They're at select marinas. They're not very expensive, right? Maybe $45, $50 for a half hour. And it's a nice way to sort of take the family or take a small group and slowly kind of tool around Bay Lake, some of the other Sassagoula River, things like that. The Sea Racers is something that I've done in the past. They used to be called water mice. The water mice. The water mice. Probably the most popular way people do it, right? They're small little speedboats that hold 2 guests. You have to be 12 years or older. And I think there's a height requirement to drive. I think it's about 5 feet tall.
You have to be 5 feet tall.
Right, which, fortunately I just make. But if you have kids, you can certainly bring them as a passenger. These are a blast, right? I mean, look, you're not going to break any, speed records on the water, but they're a really fun way to sort of drive around. You open it up as much as you can, but get some really neat views. Just you and somebody that you're with. It's a nice... I don't want to say it's romantic, but there is something romantic about sort of being in just that single little watercraft.
Well, and the Sea Racers, because they're small, that when one of these little water mice take a wake, there's a lot more bounce to it than, say, if you were in a Boston Whaler or pontoon boat, something that's a little bit larger that can take a wake a little more smoothly. So, even though they don't go tremendously fast, there is this impression of speed. It's almost like think Space Mountain. You think Space Mountain is so fast because it just feels that way, even though you're not really going all that quickly. Sea Racer is the exact same kind of concept because it's a smaller boat and so it bounces around a lot. You get this impression of just a lot of speed. So there's a certain degree of thrill that comes along with the Sea Racer because you're running around and bouncing along the chop along both the Seven Seas Lagoon or again any one of the waterways. Down at Crescent Lake over at Yacht and Beach / Boardwalk, all that area. So again, you can just go and explore. Just remember to, as with all things, be responsible, watch your surroundings. Definitely please be safe. But they're great things to enjoy. And, you can get a hit. You can get an enjoyment of being out on the water for not a lot of price and for not a lot of investment in time. It's not like this is something you're devoting a half a day to or anything like that. You can just go out and if you want, have a quick hour out on the water and then move on to do other things or go enjoy a nice restaurant. Yeah,
I think you rent them in about 30-minute increments, and it's about $30 to $33, I think, for a half hour. I actually did the Sea Racer experience. I videotaped it. I'll put the video actually in the show notes. If you come to WDWRadio.com, click on this week's podcast, I'll show you the video, give you a sense of what it's like sort of from beginning to end to take out one of the sea racers. Again, it was a blast for me. I really enjoyed it. But maybe that's not your speed, right? For a lot of people, Chuck, the way they experience the water, some people like motorboats. Some people like to do it on their own. For other people, and I think this is one that a lot of people don't realize Walt Disney World has, right? You see the pedal boats, you see the sea racers, you see the pontoon boats. You can actually rent a sailboat. Right? At
Yes,
Caribbean Beach or Wilderness Lodge, you can rent a sailboat. And at the Grand Floridian, I think they also have catamarans as well, too. So if the wind is how you like to move around the waterways, you can rent sailboats as well, too. Again, these are maybe $20, $25 an hour. There's pedal boats. I see these a lot over at Old Key West, Caribbean Beach. These are very inexpensive. I think it's under $10 for a half hour.
It's about $11 now.
Okay, it's $11? Okay. And I have a newfound love, Chuck Lionberger, after doing it finally. I've wanted to do it for years. The first time I got to do it was in Aulani, where I just came back from. But kayaking, you want to talk about a beautiful, solitary way. It's just a peaceful way to explore like the bays and the different inlets. The canoeing and kayaking, you can get them at Fort Wilderness, Port Orleans at Caribbean Beach. Again, these two, very, very inexpensive. It's easier to do than it looks. You'll get a little bit of workout, right? But it is a lot of fun.
They are a lot of fun. And you think about the canoes, and as you said, you just came back from Aulani. I just came back from Disneyland. And at Disneyland, they're still there. You remember the old Frontierland canoes, the Davy Crockett canoes. Sadly, they're gone from Walt Disney World's Frontierland. However, the canoes still exist, so you can go and relive some of those old Frontierland experiences by getting a canoe there at Fort Wilderness and enjoying kind of a throwback to the old West days of moving around before there were motors. So things like the canoes and the kayaks, pedal boats, great for families, great for kids, especially think like a pedal boat. That's something that a kid can really get into. Maybe an occasional pedal help from mom and dad to get moving, depending on the size of the kid, but that's one of these things where you can give kids the control and they can safely be in command and feel like that they're doing it themselves, even though you're around and to make sure things are safe. So families are great options for things like your canoes and kayaks and pedal boats. And then going up and speaking of families, for those Boston whalers and those pontoon boats, that's also another great thing, especially if you've got a bigger family or you've got an extended family with you. Grandparents, things like that this is an opportunity for everybody to kind of get together and just relax, enjoy, talk, but also kind of be out on the water and enjoying a little bit of the solitude. You're kind of away from the hustle and bustle a little bit. When you're out on the water, you're a little bit confined space, and you have the opportunity to kind of talk, and it's quiet, enjoyable, and it's very peaceful.
And I think that's what I like about the kayak. Even if you sort of go on a caravan with your family, can sort of. And the thing I like about all these, the things I like about you piloting your own vessel is that you are creating your own adventure. You determine where you go, how fast you want to go, how slow you want to go. Whatever it is, whatever your speed is, literally and figuratively, there's something that you can rent and enjoy. And I'm telling you, you forget, Chuck, that you are in Walt Disney World. Especially places like you go out by, Port Orleans or Fort Wilderness. You get out on a kayak, and all of a sudden you forget that the Magic Kingdom, is right there. You forget that it's all about the theme parks. And I think that's part of what we're trying to sort of really stress with this segment too, is there's so much beyond the parks that you can do.
Oh yeah. But if you want to get away, there's no better way to get away than the Grand One.
I think kayak, you think Grand One.
Hey, look, I'm sorry. You're thinking about it a little bit. I'm going for a $1.5 million 52-foot sea racer yacht. Sorry. You're going to go big, go really
Go
really
big or go home. I get you, man. Go big or go home.
Go with the Grand One. I had the opportunity to ride aboard the Grand One. I have to say, full disclosure, this was a part of the Disney's Biggest Fan trip that I won back in 2009 and was graciously provided by Disney. Full disclosure there. But boy, you talk about a yacht. Oh man, Grand One is incredible. As I said, it's a 2-foot sea racer yacht. It's got 2 whole levels to it. There's the main deck. and the deck and cabin underneath. Then you've got the flying bridge on top, where most of the time you have your captain. Usually there's a captain and a first mate who are driving the boat for you.
And you can get if you want a butler, because that's how you roll. You can do the butler.
Yeah, and again, I've got to be the one to bring food into this too. This is one of these places where you really want to do it right. Speaking of being romantic, get the chocolate dipped strawberries and some champagne, things like that. This is a great place for a romantic evening. But again, also,
but you can do, and just to clarify just how, this is a big yacht, so you can do the romantic thing for two, right? And we'll take this to sort of lead us into things like fireworks cruises. Like, look, you want to really impress somebody, you do a fire, but you can get 18 people on board. Like, you can have a nice little party on there.
Yeah, there's 3 staterooms, and one of the captains, when I was on here, he told me there were, I'll tell you what, I wish I had this kind of money, people who would rent the thing out for the entire day. Now, at one point, and again, this may be an old number, last I had it was $5.50 an hour. It might be more now.
Yeah.
And there were people who were renting it out for the day just because, I'm going to go from the Magic Kingdom to wherever, and they would just go on the Grand One instead of taking the ferry or anything like that. Boy, I wish I had that kind of cash. But, it is luxury upon luxury. It is just about as posh as you get. There's satellite TV on there. There's special sound systems, and again, all the comforts of home. They pipe in. Thinking about fireworks and listening to wishes. They have their own radio frequency that they get wishes in. It's perfectly timed to the fireworks and everything like that. And it really is a way to relax in nothing short of pure opulence. Grand One really is wonderful. I know it sounds expensive, but you stop and think about 18 passengers, though. It's not that bad.
Right. You split it up, and you can go out for an hour and really have a nice time. But if you want to really do it up, they can, beyond just things like strawberries, you can have hot food, right? You could have hot food and cold food brought on board. You can't bring your own, but Disney will provide for you. So they'll do butler service. You can have hide items. It'll be passed around for you. You can have dinner out there. You could have dinner. You could have drinks. You could have a cake. They'll do a sheet cake that'll feed, 20 guests if that's what you want. So however, like you said, however big you want to go, you can do it.
Well, and then there have been people who have held, very small, but they've held wedding ceremonies on the Grand One before. So, again, this is one of these, if you can dream it and you can pay for it, you can do it. And again, the Grand One is, it's a beautiful yacht. If you just want to check it out, you can see it at the Grand Floridian Marina, if it's there, if it's not actually out on the water. But one of the interesting things, just talking about some of these boats before we move to some other things, is that a lot of people might not know that there are 2 very interesting bridges at Walt Disney World. Oftentimes you've gone underneath them, but you probably haven't gone over them. That's because they're called water bridges. And so the water goes over top of the cars. Usually it's the other way around. And there's an area that connects between the Seven Seas Lagoon and Bay Lake. There's that little area. Remember that tunnel you go underneath when you go into the Magic Kingdom? You're actually going underneath the lake. There's a little connector canal. Same thing at Epcot. There's a little connector canal, and there are 2 water bridges at Walt Disney World. And through these boats, that's how you can enjoy and experience those water bridges. And again, something you can tell your kids the next time you're going over there.
Which I think was
going over a bridge.
I think it was the first water bridge in America, or first water bridge in the world.
Possibly.
Like it was, it's a simple thing. You're like, duh, it looks so simple. But yeah, it may have been the first water bridge in the United States or the world. Certainly in Disney World. Certainly in the Disney World.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing. And that, there's the World Drive that goes up and through underneath the one, and then there's 2 at Epcot. One that's a backstage road, and then one is the Epcot Resorts road that both go underneath the water.
Yeah, so let's sort of stay. And again, Grand One, just to be clear, there's only one. There is only one Grand One, and it is at the Grand Floridian. Maybe this is a way to sort of lead into talking about, obviously all these boat things you can do on your own. You take out during the day. But one of the beautiful things to do, you want to talk about having a special experience, seeing something that you've probably seen before, but from a completely different vantage point, is a fireworks cruise.
Oh,
right?
without a doubt.
A fireworks cruise, or even fireworks from the water, right? Let's talk about fireworks on the water, and maybe talk about fireworks on the shores of the water. The Grand One is a great way. You can do the pontoon boat. You can do like the Sun Tracker pontoon boats that seat about 10 guests. You can do it for wishes. There's Illuminations cruises as well, too, that you can leave from the Yacht and Beach Club Marina. These, again, they'll snack them with snacks and water and soda and things like that. These, you talk about a way to see something. And for me, I like wishes. I like seeing wishes from the water better than Illuminations. I've done them both, right? I've done the pontoon boat for Illuminations. Each is unique in their own right. But there's something about seeing, especially when they have the perimeter fireworks over the Magic Kingdom, they pipe the music in. I mean, Chuck, I know that you've done this before, I'm sure. They pipe the water in, and you appreciate the fireworks in a whole new way. And if you time it right, you also get the electrical water pageant if you do wishes too.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about the electrical water pageant in a minute, but watching fireworks on the water, you're actually, in many respects, you're watching the fireworks doubled up because you're seeing it in the air, but then you're also catching the reflection of all of those lights and colors in the water, and it really creates a whole different environment and a really different experience for the fireworks. Again, you're also not thinking, wishes in this case. You're probably not crushed up with a bunch of other people on Main Street or somewhere like that. Again, you're on your own boat. You're just sitting back. You're relaxing. The slight rocking of the water, of being on the lake. It really is a very peaceful and fun way to watch fireworks without all the hustle and bustle of being in the parks and getting in position a half hour early and all this kind of stuff. You just motor on up to where you want to, or at least your captain will motor on up to where they want to kind of hang out for watching wishes. And again, if you're in the perimeter fireworks, it's a great way to see it because you really do get a much better feel of the perimeter fireworks. Interestingly enough, again, the Grand One captain was telling me this, that when there are perimeter fireworks, the boats have to back off a little bit from the main entrance to the Magic Kingdom, as opposed to when it's just wishes only without perimeters. When it's just wishes, they can be a little bit closer, but for safety reasons, when the perimeter fireworks are going off, they have to back off a little bit from the main entrance. But still, it creates just a wonderful vantage point that you're seeing the fireworks kind of going off over top of the train station. That's generally the sort of the viewpoint that you get. And the same thing for Illuminations on that side. You're hanging out kind of down in the France-England area, and you really get to see it from a different vantage point and enjoy seeing the reflection. I mean, just the fire barge alone, and you see the reflection off the water, and it almost looks like the fire gets right to your boat because of the way it reflects. It just creates a whole different experience.
Yeah, and the things to point out too, again, whether you do wishes or you do Illuminations, it'll run you about $350. You can have a maximum of 10 people, but again, that boat is all yours. So whether you're flying solo or you're bringing 9 friends, again, you split it up. It's $35 per person. It includes snacks. You can't bring your own food on board, but you can have yacht club private dining, for example, if you do Illuminations. And getting to tool around Crescent Lake, at night or at sunset, I mean, it really is beautiful. It's a nice special thing, right? You don't do it every time that you go, but if you have a birthday or celebration, they can also do a celebrations package as well too. They'll decorate it. They'll have all kinds of amenities. They'll have a cake and things like that. So that's a neat surprise that I've seen people do, like especially for their kids or an anniversary or whatever it may be. You can really sort of plus it up as much or as little as you want.
Right, and one of the nice things about being on these, especially the Illumination cruises, is that you hear the story of Illuminations. A lot of people will see it, and it's great to watch and hear the music and see all the fireworks. There's actually a whole story behind Illuminations, and a lot of times the captains will explain that story of what that is, and that just makes the whole experience that much more moving and more and just richer.
I will say one of my favorite watercraft, which unfortunately is no longer there. I would love to see her brought back someday, but I don't think it's going to happen. Was Breathless.
Yes,
Breathless was a sort of 1920s mahogany boat that could fit about 4 or 5 people or so. Mm-hmm. And that, you talk about a fast boat that they could open up on Crescent Lake and then go to watch the fireworks. It was a blast. But
she was beautiful.
She was beautiful. But let's sort of stick with fireworks for a second. And because if we're talking about the water, Chuck, I think it's important that we mention not just having to be on the water or pay to be on the water to see the fireworks from a new way, because some of my favorite places to watch fireworks aren't inside the parks or on the water, but on the beach, sort of on the shores, right?
Yep.
The Polynesian beach is my all-time favorite. It is the worst kept secret in the world because it starts to get very crowded, especially during some of the holiday seasons. But you get there at the right time. You hang out by the pool. You go to Captain Cook's. You get a little cocktail. There's hammocks. There's beach chairs. They pipe the music in. That is my all-time favorite place to watch fireworks. Some other locations, if you want to do it on a boat but not have to sort of pay for it, on the launch from Fort Wilderness to the Magic Kingdom, again, if it's timed just right.
Yep, you time it right.
The Fort Wilderness Beach, the dock of the Grand Floridian. That's the secret place. Not a lot of people go out to the dock of the Grand Floridian, another place to watch from the shore.
Oh, and another, again, if you can time it right, and again, this deals with the restaurant. Narcoossee's has a beautiful view.
Yeah.
If you happen to time it right and get a good reservation, and then you get to go inside and enjoy some of that. Oh, Narcoossee's.
I was the guy who always talked about food. Look who's the one who's bringing everything back to food.
It must be catching. But you talk about though having that ability to go stand on the shoreline, thinking for wishes here at the Magic Kingdom area. It does give a great opportunity to go and see fireworks, folks. You don't have to be at a park to go see the fireworks. Come on out to, again, you can do the Polynesian. You can go out to the Grand Floridian. You can go over towards the Contemporary. There's lots of different places that you can watch fireworks right there on the water, and doesn't cost you a thing except just your time and being out there. There's also a great little point that's out at the Polynesian if you happen to catch it and if it's available at the time. Sometimes it's closed off for various parties, but if you happen to catch that little point, it's almost like the wedding point. There's a lot of weddings that take place there. It's just to the right of the beach. That's also a great place to watch wishes.
And speaking of the Polynesian, and we're talking about water, we're talking about things you can do on the water. I have to sort of take the Wayback Machine out for a second, because you used to, when Walt Disney World first opened, you used to be able to do a lot of activities in the water. Right? You can no longer swim in the water. You can't do a lot of things like that in the water. But they used to have a water ski show out in front of the Magic Kingdom. At the Polynesian, I'm sure you've all heard the legend, because it's not legend, it's true, that there used to be a wave machine because they wanted you to go surfing at the Polynesian. You can go swimming in there. You can't do that anymore, right? But there's still a lot more that you can do in terms of interactive stuff on the water, right? We're talking about piloting your own boat and going out and renting your own kayak. But there's other things you can do too. And one of the things, I'm sure you do it as well too, Chuck, we meet people that say, I love Disney World. My kids love Disney World. My husband, not so much, right? My husband thinks it's all about Dumbo and princesses. And I always tell people, you need to find their entry point, right? What is the thing that they would enjoy doing at Walt Disney World? Because it's not just about the parks. For some people, it's championship golf. Right? For other people, it might be the shows or the restaurants. Other people, their entry point was fishing.
Yep.
Right? They love to fish. And I'm like, well, there's a whole lot of water at Walt Disney World, and people don't realize that there's not only guided bass fishing excursions, right? There's nitro fishing excursions, and there's dockside fishing as well.
Mm-hmm. All sorts of it. And again, this is a great experience not only for families, but this is a way to get to bring dads involved, who might be looking and going, oh gosh, theme parks. Yeah, well let's get up, and you got to get up in the morning a lot of times to go out and go fishing out on, say, the Seven Seas Lagoon or Crescent Lake. Now everything, of course, is catch and release, but you have the opportunity to go out with fishing guides, and again, you're not in a theme park at all. You're just kind of
there's no lines, there's no crowds, right?
Yeah, it literally is just the peacefulness of fishing, and for those who go fishing and understand fishing, as I do, there is that peace that's associated with fishing. It can be very quiet, or just a light conversation or anything like that while you're out and trying to catch a bite or two. So you can have all of those experiences. It's not too bad on the price. Again, there's I believe full days and half days. You can either do the half day number one, or sometimes there's afternoon half days as well. And sometimes you can get a price break on those afternoon ones. And you can go do for fishing out on a boat, and then we'll talk about the other fishing in a minute. But for to do boat-based fishing and the fishing tours, you can go and enjoy and do a lot of things there. And really, there's nothing at all theme park oriented about it at all.
Right, and you can go for a short sort of 2-hour trip to something 4 hours. And look, it's one of those things, Chuck, you just show up, right?
Yep.
Like golf, right? If you need, a lot of people like to bring their own stuff. If you want to bring your own fishing gear, you can, but you don't have to, right? They give you all the equipment, the rod, the reels, artificial bait, refreshments and beverages and things like that. You can't bring your own food, but yeah, look, you want to bring your own rod and reel, knock yourself out, right? If you're a Bass member, the Bass Angler Sportsman Society, you actually can get a discount on these kind of things. I did this as well, too, a number of years ago. I'll link that video up in the show notes as well. I, as a kid, used to go fishing with my dad and brother for years. And this was the first time I had gone fishing out on a boat since I was a kid, and I had a blast. And now it's one of those things that I have sort of put on my list that I want to take my son out to go and do, right?
Yeah, this is high up on my list to do with my boys. I haven't had the chance to do it just yet, but like the old song goes, I really am a son of a sailor, and so I learned how to drive a boat before I could drive a car. I mean, fishing was part of my childhood, and so I'm really looking forward to having an opportunity to do this with my two boys and get them experiencing fishing. But you don't have to have a boat though to do fishing at Walt Disney World.
Wait, yes. Wait, because I haven't done this one yet, but I want to try it. Because these boats, right, these are sort of the pontoon boats, right? These are nice, slow, you sort of go out, you do fishing, it's casual, you hang out, you have a great time. My tip, go early, right? You can start as early as 7 o'clock in the morning. So if your wife, your mom, your girlfriend, your sister, whoever it is, maybe they want to sleep in, maybe they want to go to the park. You can get up nice and early. You can go out for 2 hours at 7 o'clock. You're back by 9. You're in the Magic Kingdom by 9:30. So you can sort of have your day and do your thing and still have a full day of park time. Or do it in the afternoon, get a little break. Everybody's going back. The kids are going swimming. Mom wants to take a nap, whatever it may be. You can go out on the boat for a couple of hours. But they also have sort of these tournament-style bass boats. It's called a Bass Nitro Fishing Excursion. These leave from the Poly, Grand Floridian, Contemporary Caribbean, Coronado, Wilderness Lodge, and Fort Wilderness. These are a little bit different. So these sort of a plussed up. So it's the Bass Nitro Fishing Excursions. And I think the pricing is a little bit different, a little bit higher for the Bass Nitro Fishing Excursions as opposed to the other one. Again, for all these things, and we'll hit this up again later, you can call 407 WDW Bass 939-2277 to find out exact times, prices, availability, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's one of these things where, just be ready to get up a little early. And that itself is a benefit because depending especially on the time of year, you may be getting up at 7 o'clock and sun's not up yet. I mean, nothing more peaceful and just beautiful to watch than a sunrise, over, one of the lakes. So those are very enjoyable as well. And again, as I said, you can also fish without a boat at all because Walt Disney World does offer also fishing, waterside fishing.
Yeah, I think the dockside fishing, there's sort of this old-fashioned fishing. This is, Chuck, it's the simple things, right? It's the simple pleasures. I know you're in Walt Disney World and you're on vacation, but you take your kids out and you do old-style, traditional cane pole fishing, either at Old Man Island, at Port Orleans Riverside, or at Fort Wilderness, right? You can rent stuff from the bike barn there. It's very inexpensive. You can get like an all-day rod. I think it's like $10, $11. You can get, worms and wigglers and night crawlers or whatever it may be. And, you just sort of hang out. And it's just sort of good, simple, enjoyable, like you said, quiet time. And it doesn't, look, it's not Test Track, right? It is the antithesis of Test Track. But it's that, look, you're going to catch something, right? The waterways are very, very well stocked with bass, but it's a simple thing, right? You teach your kid how to fish, right? You get that memory at Walt Disney World. And I know I'm sort of waxing sentimental, but that's the kind of thing I think of when I think of the dockside fishing.
Well, and again, this is another example of it's a teaching moment too. This is how folks lived 100 years ago or 150 years ago. This is this idea of cane pole fishing or over at Fort Wilderness, you got your cast and rod kind of fishing. This is how people did it years and years and years ago, and they needed this in order to survive and get the food that they needed for every day. So you're also kind of understanding and living in the past for, even if it's for a couple of hours, that you're helping your children understand the way things were way back when, before there was all the technology and all the other stuff that that we have today, and appreciate a lifestyle and a way of life that has long gone by.
Right. And again, it's catch and release. So that's the one difference is you can't sort of take your fish and go grill it up over at the grills over at Fort Wilderness, but it's still a lot of fun. And I think you're right. It's sort of a teaching. It's sort of a teaching point too. If you go to, but you see adults doing it just by themselves, right? It's sort of a great sort of, daddy needs his alone time. Mommy goes to the spa. Daddy goes fishing. Again, it's everybody's sort of entry point into how they want to enjoy the parks, enjoy Walt Disney World outside the parks. But maybe
all of this is completely outside the park, and you can remember, a vacation is supposed to be relaxing, and here are some of these ways that you can be active in doing things and relaxing at the same time.
Right. And look, maybe cane pole fishing, that's too boring for some people. They're like, all right, I get it. I'm not a boat guy. I have no idea how to sail. I don't want to drive a thing. I don't want to fish. You can plus it up a little bit, right? Sammy Duval is a big sponsor. They have water sports centers, especially places like the Contemporary. That's like the go-to place, because there you can do things in and on and above, right, the water. So you want to water ski, you want to wakeboard, you want to do a family tube, you want to parasail, you want to talk about something that you're going to remember and a unique vantage point. Sammy Duval's Water Sports Center at the Contemporary Resort Marina. Yeah, you can rent the other motorized watercraft there as well too. But think about things like parasailing, right? That sort of bird's eye view of the resorts and the Magic Kingdom. You can go single as a guest or as a tandem, right? So you and your wife, your kid, your girlfriend, whatever it may be, and you don't have to even get wet, right? You take off right from the boat without even getting wet.
Yep. Who needs characters in flight?
That's right.
You can just go parasail. And it's
Right.
and again, it's a way to get a little bit of a thrill, but a very safe thrill, but a very calm thrill. It's
If I was going to do it anywhere, and I will, I haven't done it yet, right? And this is definitely, this is a video going to be in the making, I promise. But I've never done, look, I've been to Jamaica, I've been on cruises, I've been all these, if I'm going to do it anywhere, the place I'm going to feel safest is at Walt Disney World. Because safety is top priority there.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So
yeah, I mean, there's nothing that you're going to be doing at Walt Disney World that's not carefully considered to make sure that you're as safe as you could possibly be, and then some.
Yeah.
So if you want to try your hand at something like parasailing, Walt Disney World is a fantastic place to do it.
Right. Same thing, like I said, water skiing, wakeboarding, great way to enjoy. Look, it's for a lot of people, their only experience of Florida is flying into MCO, getting on Magical Express, staying in Walt Disney World, and then they leave. This actually affords you these sort of watercraft and getting out on Bay Lake. That's sort of that natural Florida beauty, because that's sort of, Bay Lake is, that's what this area looked like, right? That is what this swampland and this very lush green. It's beautiful. And like I said before, it's serene, but you want to sort of plus it up. You want to go, wakeboarding and tube riding. You can do it. You can do all those things as well too. If you want to do the parasailing, again, check for updated pricing. It's going to cost you about $100 per person per flight. It's about 10 minutes. You go 450 feet up. Like, that's no joke, man. If you do tandem, you go a little bit longer, you go a little bit higher. You go about 600 feet up. That's about 130, I think, I'm sorry, I think tandem is like 170. So you can sort of extend your flights too. So, but it's one of those once in a lifetime experiences, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, again, this is one of these things where you will have the ability to be in a place that very few people get to do, and you get to see things from a vantage point that most people don't see.
Right. And I think too, as we talk about the water in Walt Disney World, we're thinking about the major bodies of water, right? We're talking about these things that you can do and rent. I think there's a number of, I like to sort of call them simple pleasures, right? And I like getting on the Admiral Joe Fowler or the Richard F. Irvine, the giant ferry boat, going from the TTC to the Magic Kingdom. I love the friendship boats on World Showcase Lagoon, Crescent Lake. I like just taking the boat from Yacht and Beach Club over to Disney's Hollywood Studios. Look, I know it's an attraction, but the Liberty Bell, right? Attractions. even simple things, like Chuck, like, kids love those little water play areas, like at Journey into Imagination and Epcot and downtown Disney, was sort of like run into the fountains. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. There's tons of different ways everybody can enjoy the water, including just some of those very simple things as well too, that don't cost you anything.
Yeah, and another great one that doesn't cost anything, and we're hopping back at night now, and we're going way back. We're going all the way back to 1971, October 1971, though not opening day 1971, and the electrical water pageant, another piece of Disney history that's right there on the water that you can see completely for free on the shores of Bay Lake and of the Seven Seas Lagoon. Again, doesn't cost you a thing, and it's a wonderful, literally an electrical pageant, just a pageant of floats that have various light displays with music that is playing, and it has been doing it almost since the very, very beginning.
And it's fun and it's beautiful, and I love the music. And I will tell you, I've seen the electrical water pageant from 1,000 different places, right? From Wilderness Lodge, from on the water, from one of my favorite ways, and I'm going to touch on this because I'm going to do a review of this as a whole separate thing, because it's not just a sort of a renting out a Grand One or renting out a pontoon boat, but I did the Pirates and Pals Fireworks Voyage, right? It's not a private tour. It's not your own boat, but it's something where it's an experiential kind of thing, because it involves food and characters and Captain Hook, and there's singing and there's games, and a great way to get on the water and see the water pageant and Wishes in a very, very unique way. It's something that leaves from the Contemporary Hotel. There's lots of surprises. It reminds me of something that you'd almost find on board one of the cruise ships, like on one of the Disney Cruise Line ships. But the Pirates and Pals Fireworks Voyage is another way to see it as well, too. It is obviously a hard-ticketed kind of thing. I did it with my kids a couple of months ago, Chuck, especially if you have young kids or anybody who's a pirate fan. It is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. And, you were talking about that. It reminded me of another pirate adventure that is exclusively for kids. So sorry, Lou, you and I are out on this one. And that's the Kids Pirate Adventure that sails from both the Grand Floridian and also from the Yacht Club. And these are exclusively for kids. They generally take place in the morning, and, kids go out and literally do a pirate adventure in different spots. My kids did this, again, full disclosure, during the Disney's Biggest Fan Trip Award from 2010. They did this, and they went from the Grand Floridian, stopped off at the beach and literally did a dig for treasure on the Grand Floridian beach, went over and did the same thing over at the Poly, and then over at the Contempt, and then the Wilderness, and came back. There was lunch involved. And, it's an opportunity not only for kids, but also for parents, and the fact that, this is something that kids can do. It's a couple of hours, and it gives parents a few hours of sort of time to themselves. And so we had the ability to have a nice breakfast and kind of walk around and just enjoy the Grand Floridian and look and see without having the kids around, and just kind of sit down and have some just chill out and chit chat time. So that's another great experience for kids. It's not too expensive. Details are on the Disney website about that particular experience as well. And again, one more great thing that you can do out on the water.
And so I want to circle back to a question I asked you at the very beginning, or sort of alluded to. What's your favorite body of water? Again, there's lakes, there's lagoons, there's rivers, there's all. What's sort of your favorite body of water at Walt Disney World, and why?
Well, for me, I would have to say it's probably the Seven Seas Lagoon. I have to think about this, but I think it's the Seven Seas Lagoon, and for a couple of reasons. We had an opportunity again during this same Disney's Biggest Fan trip where we stayed at concierge at the Polynesian, and every morning we had this beautiful vista of, as the sun was rising, you could see the Seven Seas Lagoon and the mist coming up off the lake. In the distance, you could see a couple of the fishing excursions that were out, and in the far distance is Cinderella Castle. The lights are still on as the sun starts to rise, and it really was just a beautiful, peaceful vista. And then again, you have everything that happens around Seven Seas Lagoon. The experiences and the and all the other activities. Again, that's what makes the Seven Seas Lagoon an attraction in its own right, from the electrical water pageant to all the transportation that goes on, to all the various booked transportation that you can rent out, and other experiences like that. So for me, I really enjoy the Seven Seas Lagoon.
So I love the Seven Seas Lagoon, obviously, because it was there first, and the whole story behind it. Like, I love how just it was dug out, it was man-made, and it built the utilidors. And I love Crescent Lake, because especially sunset on Crescent Lake is just spectacular, right? As those popcorn lights start to come on the boardwalk, especially as you look at it from the water or from the beach at the Yacht and Beach Club. But see, I snuck two in there, and I'm going to say the Sassagoula River, right? You want to talk about taking a watercraft out or even walking along the banks of it, taking the boat from Old Key West or the Port Orleans resorts to downtown Disney. You sort of pass, areas by by Saratoga Springs and the Treehouse Villas. And again, Chuck, you forget that you're inside Walt Disney World. You forget that you are in this sort of Disney-created environment. You feel as though you were in this natural state of Florida. And I think so many people don't know or realize or take advantage of what you can do on the Sassagoula. Look, I love Port Orleans for a lot of reasons, right? The food, Yeehaw Bob, the theming, and the fact of where it is. Not just location-wise, centralized, but where it is on the Sassagoula and how you can get to downtown Disney by boat. It's beautiful. It is truly beautiful. It's free, right? It's free. So if you want to go down to downtown Disney without having to park, it's a great way to go right from there. But I want to ask the listeners. I have a two-part question for you. What's your favorite body of water in Walt Disney World, and why? And what's your favorite water activity or on your bucket list maybe of things that you haven't done? Is it parasailing? Is it fishing? Is it kayaking? Chuck, I got to get myself a kayak and get out at Fort Wilderness. I want you to come by the show notes. Visit WDWradio.com, click on the podcast link or click on this week's episode right from the homepage. Leave your answer in the comments section on the blog there. I would love to hear your favorite body of water and why, and your favorite water activity, or better yet, be heard on the show. Call the voicemail 407-900-9391, 407-900-WDW1, favorite body of water or favorite water activity in Walt Disney World. And as long as you're on the internets, be sure and visit disneydaddy.blogspot.com. Chuck Leinberger posts all the time, lots of great stuff from a solo traveler perspective, a daddy perspective, a Disney fan perspective. Love the kind of stuff you do on there, Chuck. Obviously, we have a lot of ideas for more stuff we have to cover, including the water parks.
So much to cover.
We have so much to cover and so much to eat along the way. So I want to thank you again, my friend, for sharing some of the best ways to enjoy water at Walt Disney World.
Oh, always a pleasure, sir. And we're just going to have to make that book and head down, do a kayak or two. I can see it now.
It's time for our Walt Disney World Trivia Question of the Week, where I invite you to test your knowledge of Walt Disney World history or trivia, see how well you pay attention to the details of what you see or maybe even what you hear for a chance to win a Disney prize package. Before we get to this week's question, let's go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So last week we were talking about and exploring the Great Movie Ride, and I said that one of my favorite aspects of the attraction is the movie montage finale. And your question was very simple. In the movie finale, there's only one clip in which the title of the film is audibly mentioned by name. Think you know what it is? Well, chances are if you were one of the hundreds of people that entered last week, you got it right, because that movie's name is...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
And if you did enter last week, we put all the correct entries into a randomizer, selected one, and our winner last week is Ella Solis. So Ella, congratulations. You won all the audio tours to the Magic Kingdom, a WDW Radio luggage tag, button, a Walt Disney World trivia book, and a mystery ticket. If you played last week and didn't win, thanks so much, but don't worry, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge. So as long as we're talking about water this week and some of my favorite attractions on it or in it or around it, your question this week is simple. Tell me what the names are of the 3 ferry boats that transport guests from the Transportation and Ticket Center to the Magic Kingdom. Better yet, if you can tell me their respective original names, you can also win a bonus prize, a WDW Radio t-shirt. You have until Sunday, August 4th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern to email your answer to contest@wdwradio.com. Again, you're playing for all the audio tours to Walt Disney World, a luggage tag, button, a signed copy of my Walt Disney World trivia book, and if you get the bonus question right with the original names of those 3 ferry boats, you also win a WDW Radio t-shirt. Good luck and have fun. That's going to do it for this week's show. Thanks so much for taking the time and tuning in this and every week. In addition to the podcast, which you can subscribe to over on iTunes, be sure and visit the website over at WDWRadio.com for our daily blog posts, my Disney Intimate videos, our new free weekly email newsletter, the WDW Radio free app for your iPhone or Android device, our discussion forums, contests, so much more. And also be sure and tune in every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for WDW Radio Live. You can watch and chat and discuss this week's Walt Disney World news. If a question you want answered on the show, you can email me at lou@wdwradio.com or call the voicemail, be heard on the air at 407-900-9391. You can also connect with me on Twitter. I'm at Lou Mongello and Facebook.com/Lou Mongello. And while I love connecting with you online, I think nothing beats a handshake and a hug. And that's why we have so many live in-person events coming up. It's a chance for us to get together, for me to meet you in person, whether you're coming to Walt Disney World or other places around the country. Our next meet of the month in Walt Disney World is going to be, well, as long as we're talking about water, it's August and it's hot. We're going to go back to one of Walt Disney World's water parks. We had a meet back in August 2009 at Typhoon Lagoon. So this year, we're going to hit the slopes and spend the day at Blizzard Beach. So join me and other friends of WDW Radio on Saturday, August 24th. Again, we're going to spend the day over at Blizzard Beach Water Park. Theme park admission not required, but you do need a ticket to Blizzard Beach. If you're planning on coming, please let me know. You can RSVP on our Facebook event page or on the event page at WDWRadio.com. There, I'm going to post a map and location of exactly where we're going to be meeting and sort of making camp for the day. In addition to that event in Walt Disney World, don't forget we're going to be at the D23 Expo. WDW Radio and Mouse Fan Travel have joined forces once again for a huge booth inside the Collectors Forum on the first floor. We're going to be broadcasting live all 3 days. So if you're going to be out at the expo, come visit, say hi, be part of the show. And if you can't make it out to the expo, I'm going to bring it to you virtually. We're going to have special events, contests, interviews, a few surprises, and chances for you to win prizes at home as well. You can watch all 3 days and chat with us live at d23expolive.com. You can find out more about that event and other upcoming events by visiting the events page at wdwradio.com. Speaking of Mouse Fan Travel, I want to thank them. They are my official recommended travel provider. Whether you go on a world, land, cruise, adventures by Disney, anywhere in the world, Becky and her team of agents give you the best possible prices, all available discounts, all at no additional cost to you. And of course, the incredible level of personal service. You can visit them over at mousefantravel.com. And if you want some Disney magic delivered right to your door or your digital device, you can subscribe and order back issues of Celebrations magazine by visiting celebrationspress.com. And as always, my friends, and you are my friends, whether we have met yet or not, all I ask is that if you like the show, please help spread the word. Let others know about it. Tell your friends. Tweet out that you're listening. Come by, comment, link, share links to your favorite episodes over on Facebook. And please come by, rate and review the show over on iTunes. Very, very helpful. Very much appreciated. And finally, and most importantly, I want to say thank you to every one of you for taking the time to listen, for being my friend, for being so supportive, for letting me live my dream and share my passion for Disney with you through this show and so many other ways. And I want you to feel that same way as well. So focus on your goals and your dreams and not your fears, and always believe in yourself. Take small steps, just get started, and always keep moving forward. Thanks so very much for listening. I hope you have a great week this week. So until next time, see ya.
Hi, Lou. This is Tony from Illinois, also known as Backside of Water in the Box. I'm right now listening to show number 330, part 2 of the walkthrough of Great Movie Ride with Jim Corcus, and you asked about an iconic comedy that should go in there. I just had to stop the show right there and then because there is one obvious one that I believe you're missing, and I can't believe you missed it because you quote this all the time. Young Frankenstein. Everybody has heard of this movie. Everybody loves this movie. A Young Frankenstein scene in the Great Movie Ride, it would just be amazing. But yeah, I'm going to go back, listen to the rest of the show now. You keep up the great work, and I shall see you on Wednesday.
Hey, Lou, I'm calling you from this is Josh from Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm calling you from outside our local Jordan's Furniture, which is actually a lot more than a furniture store. They've got Fud Rockers, an ice cream store, trapeze learning school. But more importantly, the reason I'm calling you is they have what they call liquid fireworks, which is a lot like the fountains at Epcot. And I was sitting there for one show, and all the music was all Disney movies, which I thought was really cool. And I wanted to share that with you and the listeners. Bye, everybody.